What is up, Nickel City Mafia? Welcome to a beautiful Wednesday evening. Welcome to the Bills Tailgate Show. I'm Mike Thornton, and joining me is my co-host, Mr. Jake Podger. How you doing tonight, sir?
Doing well, Mike. So I want to let you know, which I think you've already seen it, but my Reed Ferguson jersey did come in, and I was gonna wear it tonight, but I figured, listen, I'm gonna rock the Bills polo. We're all business. I'm all buttoned up. I'm not messing around. We're not playing games. We're coming off a tough loss. We have a lot of injuries on this team, so it's all business Sunday night, baby.
That's awesome. I'm surprised you're not wearing the jersey. What's up? You saving it?
All business, baby. We're not
All
messing around.
business. All
Listen,
right.
until
All
we get
right.
that win, I'm not going to rock that 69 Ferguson jersey. Not happening.
Hey, if you're on the channel, help us out a little bit here. Let us know if the audio levels are good between Jake and I want to make sure I'm not blasting your ears out and Jake is too low or vice versa. Help us out there and let us know if everything sounds okay. We got Dolphin Keith out there, Reed Ferguson, otherwise known as the brother of Blake Ferguson. You know, I gotta tell you, Jake, when you showed me that picture, when you sent it in the chat, thank you, Big Al. Thank you. I was like, there should be a number 12. There should be a number 12 because you know my favorite Ferguson, Mr. Joe Ferguson, back in the day when I was a young boy out in the streets playing street football. I was Joe Ferguson, man. I was Joe Ferguson all day, and I could throw a good tight spiral like Joe could. Joe had he had a strong arm too,
Hey,
Jake.
he was the Bills' all-time leading quarterback until that other number 12 took that over. And now we got a 17 who's about to take that all over and totally rewrite all the records.
All right. Well, thanks, Keith. Tell me you're a little low. I'm going to raise that up just a little bit. I'm going to actually lower mine down and
First
get us
time
a
I've
little
been told
equal.
that my volume is low.
I know, right?
I'm a loud, very loud human being. So
let me make a quick adjustment for you, Jake. Let's see here. Let's take you up a notch, and then maybe I'll adjust myself in a little bit. But tell the folks a little bit. Oh no! First of all, what's the weather look like? Sunday night football at Highmark. What are we looking at?
yeah, well, I can tell you this. It's been a severe change of weather here in Buffalo. So last week up until about Wednesday, Thursday, even a little in Friday. Friday was when it started to kind of take a turn. So it was in the high 70s, low 80s, Mike. Very unseasonably warm. I think we broke a few records last week. For Buffalo to be that warm that late into September, early October is absolutely incredible. I mean, it's something that we're not very used to. But yeah, Friday it sort of took a turn. It's been basically raining nonstop. It's been super windy. You could tell now it's like now that second summer is over, this is the real deal fall. This is like fall/winter time. So looks like Sunday night, as of right now, it finally stopped raining. It's low 50s. But Sunday night, it appears to be a high of 46 with a 50% chance of rain, and it's like 5 to 10 mile per hour winds. So just a picture perfect night for some fall football, in my opinion, Mike. I don't know about you.
I'm a fan of it. I mean, you know me. I'm like I'm not a fan of the weather games. I want to see the best that the teams have, and we know people start dropping balls. But you know what? Both these teams are used to the weather, so there's no advantage on either side of this. So it should be fun. And I agree with you. 46, I can still tolerate, buddy. I can still be at the stadium in 46-degree weather. I'm good with that, man. Just keep letting us know, man. I made a little bit of adjustment. I want to make sure it's pretty close to perfect between Jake and I. If I have to lower myself, please let me know. I want to talk about a few moves that happened for the Buffalo Bills this week. Josh Norman was signed to the practice squad, which is a little bit of a surprise. Jake, he did play. A lot of people are like, man, he's been retired for like 3 years. Not really. He played last year. I think it was one game. And then he played the previous year. I think he played like 14 games or something like that. But Josh Norman, dude, talk to me. What do you think about this signing?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is that he knows the defense. Right now, he's no more than an insurance policy, and all signs are pointing to Christian Benford playing on Sunday night. So that's definitely some really good news. I mean, a shoulder injury, that was definitely a little bit of a scare. You go back to the Miami game where he went down with it. He missed a lot of that game. I don't think he actually returned after that, or he did. And then they took precautionary things and basically said, you're not going to play against Jacksonville. So looks like he is going to play Sunday night. So that's really big. Kaiir Elam did not have his best game as a pro last week. So I think for him to just be more of a rotational guy, that's A-okay with me. Jamarcus Ingram still, I believe, on the active roster. And then, of course, Josh Norman now on the practice squad. But again, this is a guy that knows the defense. Yeah, he's 35 years old. I think a lot of people were super underwhelmed by the signing just because a lot of people think he's cooked. A lot of people think he was cooked when he was here in Buffalo in 2020. And, I think for him being here in Buffalo, he's a really good veteran presence in the locker room. Here we go. Great comment by Timmy here. Can Norman help Kaiir understand the scheme more, a mentor? Absolutely. I definitely think he can. I think that's the perfect guy to go to for that, and probably part of the reason why they brought him back. He spent a little bit of time in San Francisco after Buffalo, started some games. Wasn't great. He never really returned to that all-pro form. Even when he went from Carolina to Washington, he really wasn't the same player. But, as far as his football IQ goes, it's pretty damn good, and there's a reason why he's been in the league for so long.
But what's he best known for, my friend? Most recently?
Well, it's the Derrick Henry stiff arm, of course. Yeah, and we got to get that memory out of people's minds real fast. So I'm hoping, I hope he doesn't have to play, but if he does, I hope he makes a statement where it's like, hey, I'm not here just to dick around. I'm here to be a mentor, come in, do my job, and erase that horrendous memory of Derrick Henry just throwing me around.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like the signing just maybe for his, his leadership, maybe helping Kaiir. We've got a couple young guys. We've got Benford, Kaiir, and I actually like that. So do I think he'll be elevated this week? No, I'll be shocked if he is. Who knows what type of game is he in game shape, basically. I doubt it. But yeah, I do like that for the kind of the leadership qualities that he brings. And I heard that from a few other of my friends who are Bills fans. They're like, yeah, I know a lot of people are disappointed in the signings, but I like it. I like the leadership that he might bring to that secondary, that young secondary. Some other news, Jake. Obviously most people know this. The Bills placed Matt Mllano and Daquan Jones on IR. Both of them out for the season, most likely. Although I think Daquan, they're not saying completely out for the season, but for me, I'm just saying he's out for the season. Yeah. If he comes back sometime, great. But let's just plan on him being out for the season. Matt is definitely out for the season. AJ Klein was signed to the 53-man roster and designated to return from IR this week. Your boy Balin Spector. So
that's right.
That's interesting. I know you're a fan of his. At one point in the season, before the season, you thought he might not make the squad, buddy.
I did. I just felt like there were too many heads in that linebacker room. It was nothing against him, but that was a guy that I've been rooting for and been following since his rookie year. Since we drafted him, really, Mike, I've been calling him a sleeper. So now it's his time to shine, This is put up or shut up time, and whoever is the best man out there will play. I think Dorian Williams is going to get the first nod. But it's good that we have AJ Klein on this roster because, again, that's another guy that knows the defense. He may have lost a step or two, but football IQ goes such a long way, especially when you have these young guys playing in these positions here.
Hey, look who joined us tonight. I saw him on the Sabres Edge.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, you're showing up for the Sabres Edge, but I never see him on our show. And there he is. Good to see you, Dr. Blake. Be great to get him on the show. Talk some injury stuff, but
I would love to know the process with Matt Mllano. Like, what does that recovery actually look like?
Well, maybe he can tell us in the chat a little bit, and we'll bring that up. Because you see it, Blake. Good to see you, Timmy. Big L. Always appreciate you joining us. Keith, yes, we love to have you out there. Thank you for joining us as well. And then Tom out there. Tom was giving me very specific 1 decibel. Turn it up 1 notch for Jake. So hopefully we did that and we got it right. But good to have all of you out there. The Bills also signed to their practice squad Andrew Brown, a defensive tackle who was a 5th-round pick in 2018 by the Bengals. The guy's 6'3", 296. Again, he's on the practice squad right now. Some more, just getting some big bodies. After you lose Daquan Jones, you want to have all the insurance you can. Do you know much about this young man, Andrew Brown, at all, Jake?
Yeah, it's kind of a case of him being a late-round pick. He's, bounced around a little bit, and here he is just to provide, more or less a body. But he's a mammoth of a human being, I can tell you that.
Yeah, so Timmy, did they say that what Mllano's injury was? McDermott thinks he can possibly be back this season. We know what the fracture. I've
fracture.
Never heard whether the ACL was a problem or not. I don't know. They have to know this by now. I'm not sure why they're not letting us know. But who knows, Timmy? For me, I'm just kind of like, if they both come back at some point in the season, fantastic. But right now, I'm focusing on life without these two because you just never know. Just never know.
Yeah, I was talking with Sean earlier, and Sean McDermott, of course, will never really give the full side of the story. He always is very like, he touches the subject a little bit, but then he kind of backs off a little bit. And I feel like at times he's given some optimistic, expectations, really, because he didn't really say whether or not they were both done for the year. I mean, you could assume they both are, but there was never like a for sure, hey, Matt Mllano, fractured leg, torn ACL, torn meniscus, torn MCL, did every single ligament in his knee. There was none of that. So I think a lot of Bills fans are kind of like up in the air. And of course, being a natural Bills fan, you have that optimistic side where you're like, hey, maybe, you always have a little bit of hope. But in my opinion, both of them are done. Like, there's no chance they will return even for the playoffs. No way.
I wonder if Dr. Blake has some contacts in the Buffalo area, find out where Mllano was treated, and maybe he can get some inside information for us.
Yeah, that would be huge. For sure.
Tom with the super chat. Thank you so much, Tom. Two Logan Berries, 4 Diggs. Yeah, fantastic.
Love
Diggs has just been a monster this year. And feed this guy and give him a few drinks like you just did.
That's right.
Let's see. What do we got here? Fractured tibia, usually 4 to 6 months itself. So, yeah.
Yeah, what do you even do to rehab then, too? Like, do you get both surgeries at the same time? Do you do one and then you rehab that and then you get the other one? How does that even work? That's what I really wonder.
Yeah. So let me go over as Timmy. Let's see. Against hip. Well, Blake, under the covers, man. Undercover here, buddy. We won't reveal our source. We'll just say sources have it. Sources, right? All right, well, let's talk about some injury status. And again, it's early, it's Wednesday, but there is, injury status here on Wednesday. We got Christian Benford, who was a full participant in practice. That's fantastic news. We'd love to see him back out there. Now, Dane Jackson with a foot did not practice today. Still early. Don't know.
Crazy.
Check back in a couple of days. Dalton Kincaid, which I did not know, apparently suffered a concussion in that game. And he was limited in practice, which is a good sign. But did you know he had suffered a concussion?
I just heard that he was in concussion protocol because there was a hit to his head. I think he landed really awkwardly or something like that. So they had to obviously check him out. And the fact that he's limited practice already is a really good sign that he probably will play Sunday night and it wasn't anything crazy, just more precautionary. So makes me feel good that he at least – and today was only a walkthrough, by the way, so it wasn't anything major. But even so, still good to see that he was not a DNP.
Yeah. So Timmy's saying they would plate and screw the fracture. They can do ACL at the same time, but it sounds like the knee is fine.
Okay. All right, Timmy.
And then Timmy's saying meniscus tear, you can be back in 2 weeks. So it's more the fracture.
You're saying there's a chance is what I'm hearing right now.
That's what it sounds like. But based on what, Blake said, as far as the fracture goes, 4 to 6 months itself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's rough. Yikes.
Let's see. Also, Dawson Knox was limited with the wrist. Greg Rousseau was limited with the foot injury. And then Balin Spector, who was put on IR because of a hamstring, he was a full participant. So I don't know, Jake, you said it was just more of a walkthrough, but it's interesting that they still say limited or full. Like, were they able to run laps? That's what they consider a full.
Yeah, routes versus air, I would assume, like positional drills, stuff like that. Like that stuff, they'll probably still go at least somewhat 3/4 speed, but for walkthrough stuff, that's just your typical team session where you're going, defense versus offense. You're not like going full bore. You're not going with pads or anything like that. You're typically just helmets and shorts, and that's it.
So I want to ask you a question, and I would love the channel to chime in as well. So a lot of Bills fans, like if you're looking all over social media, they're packing in the season based on those 3 injuries that have happened in the last couple of weeks. They're packing in the season. We know a couple of them. And I'm sure most of us in the channel, or most of the folks out there in the channel, have heard someone saying, yeah, Bills are done this year. I want to get your thoughts. Obviously, it's a big hit to the defense. And if that defense was a top 5, I want to say they were at least a top 5 defense. I actually have some numbers here in a little bit. But if they were top 5 then. What do you see them as now? I mean, we don't know. There's a lot of question marks, but can they be a top 15? I mean, where would you think they need to stay for us to contend? And for me, Jake, I'm not even talking top seed. I'm not even worried about that. Heck, I'm not even worried about winning the East. I mean, I would love to have that. I just want us to get in the playoffs. Get in the playoffs. This Buffalo Bills team is going to be super dangerous. But let me throw it to you to answer my question there.
Well, what did I always tell you, Mike? To win games in the NFL right now, it don't matter if you have a bad defense. As long as you're putting up points, at the end of the day, it's who scores more points, right? So the offense, really, I'm more concerned about taking a step back last week. I think they'll be all right, but there's just I guess, a level of consistency you want to see, not only between Ken Dorsey and Josh, but just the offense as a whole. It just seemed like they came out, they were really flat. And the whole reason we lost that game last week wasn't because of our defense at all. They were so gassed at the end of the game. Of course they're going to give up some points, but they held them to 11 points for the majority of the game. I mean, it was within reach. Our offense just had to go down and score points, and they couldn't do it. So end of the day, the offense needs to be better. I think the defense, obviously you're a little concerned. You lose your top corner, you lose your best linebacker, arguably one of the best linebackers in the NFL. But the defensive line has been playing so good, and you're only getting better. You're going to get Groot back, and you're going to get Vaughn on a higher snap count now. So, in my opinion, Poona Ford also going to be filling in for Daquan Jones. You still have Jordan Phillips. Ed Oliver's been playing the best football of his life. So that is where I'm a lot of people probably are concerned, oh my gosh, there's going to be a monster drop-off. I don't think that's going to be the case whatsoever. We can mask, the impact. Obviously, Matt Mllano makes an incredible impact on this team, but that D-line has played so well. It really does all start up front, as cliche as that is. These guys are going to get to the quarterback still. They're going to wreak havoc, and it's going to allow our other guys to kind of play better and play above what they actually are expected to do.
I like that. So as of right now, after 5 games, the Bills are number 5 in points allowed, only giving up 16 points a game. That's incredible. You know what the Giants are giving up? 30.6 points
Yikes.
per game.
Yeah.
Near the bottom of the pack there. They are number 29. Yeah, 29 right now, near the bottom of the pack. Let me talk a little bit about the other important stat I always talk about is just more how many yards per game are you giving up? Because the Bills have definitely shown that they have been playing some bend but don't break, especially last game. I mean, they played some serious bend but don't break, making, kind of doing what teams have been doing to us. Make us work for every yard, every play, and hoping that you're able to make one big play, one big stop. And that's what happened last week against the Jags. I mean, they went on some decent drives, Jake, and then our team would just come up and make a play. Epinesa, huge.
Yep.
Let me see here. Let me give you yards per game real quick on the defensive side. Hold on 1 sec here. So yards per game, we're 12th. Believe it or not, we're giving up 325 yards per game. Guess what the Giants are giving up?
It's got to be towards the bottom.
378 yards per game. Now, just like we're injured, look, I got to say this. So this was the funniest thing. If you caught the AFC East Summit show last night, Brett asked Keith, what do you got? What's the strategy to beat the Giants? And Keith said, just show up. It was the greatest one-liner I've heard. Just show up.
I love that.
But they're beat up, man. They are beat up seriously, just like we are. Their whole offensive line. I got some news on them. So let's see here. So Thomas Andrew, their left tackle, banged up.
Andrew Thomas.
Andrew Thomas, sorry. Shane Lemieux, left guard, he's injured. John Michael Jingleheimer Schmidt. He was out. He was out last week. He's injured. And let me give you some updates on their injury report for this week. And it's huge. I mean, quarterback.
Almost their entire offensive line. Yeah. Their starting offensive line is all banged up, minus Evan Neal. That's the only guy left. It's
Daniel
crazy.
Jones has a neck injury, did not practice. What does that mean? Who might
it looks
we
like
see
Tyrod Taylor time.
Tyrod Taylor.
Yep.
Linebacker Micah McFadden, he has an ankle injury, did not practice. Outside
starter.
linebacker Aziz Ojulari, ankle, did not practice. Offensive tackle Matt Pert, did not practice, shoulder. Wandale Robinson, knee, did not practice. Wide receiver, their center, which was their draft choice this year. We talked about possibly wanting to get, we would have been happy with John Michael Jingleheimer Schmidt at center, but he was out last week. He did not practice. Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle, hamstring, did not practice. Darren Waller, tight end, did not practice. Devontae Banks, limited practice. Saquon Barkley, limited practice. Now, Barkley missed last week. This will be a huge add for them if he can play, because I really believe, and I want to get ahead of myself on any predictions, but I really believe, Jake, they're going to have to rely on Saquon. He's going to be coming back from an injury, but he's going to have to take the full load. He's going to have to run the ball like he's been known to run. They can get him out in space with some nice short passes. They're going to be dependent on that guy. And I don't know. What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is, even if Saquon does return, if even two of these guys don't play on the offensive line, he's still missing two monster key starters on that O-line. So, yeah, I mean, for that, it's, I don't know how much of an impact it really is going to be. I mean, I think Saquon is good enough where he can make a bad offensive line look good, if that even makes sense. He is that good of a player. But even so, coming off an injury, an ankle injury especially, that's always really tough, man, especially a high ankle sprain. So I would anticipate, especially with something like that for a running back, a lot of times they have those guys on a snap count. You think of even like Aaron Jones with his hammy injury, a lot of other guys in the past who have had ankle injuries, hamstring injuries that prevent you from being explosive. Those guys are always on a pitch count. So I don't really, even if he does play, I don't think he's going to get a total load of the carries. I think he'll still split some carries with Matt Breida.
You would think so. Yeah. So that's more troublesome for them as well.
Yeah.
The fact, again, a couple more, running back, Gary Brightwell, ankle, limited practice. Cordell Flott, ankle, limited practice. He's a limited participant. He's a cornerback. Shane Lemieux, who we talked about, limited participant again, and Marcus McKeithen, offensive line as well. So last week they had their inactives were Barkley, starter. And again, I'm going to let you tell me, I think I know most of these folks here, whether they're starters or not. They had safety Gavarius Owens. He was inactive. Micah McFadden was inactive. John Michael Smith was inactive. Shane Lemieux, guard. Tackle, Andrew Thomas. And defensive line, Jordan Riley. I mean, their offensive line is just beat. So injuries are happening all over every team at this point in the year already. They're starting to mount up. And I think that's probably why they've been struggling as much as they have out of the gate. So big. Yeah,
100%. You look at this Giants team too. They were so hyped up coming into this season. They come off a great year with Brian Dable as the head coach. Danny Dimes gets paid. You get a healthy Saquon Barkley. They're looking to take the next step. They add Darren Waller to the offense. They got our boy Isaiah Hodgins, who's balling out. And they draft Jalen Hyatt, too. And the offensive line is starting to come together. They draft John Michael Schmitz. They draft Deonte Banks, who is arguably one of the most athletic corners in the draft this past year. And things are just totally falling apart. And Ben, shout out to Ben here for coming into the show. He said, we'll have them in the first half if we score a touchdown. I believe this is still the case. I think they scored. It was only by way of a defensive touchdown in the first half last game against Miami. I don't know if I'm wrong on that, but I want to say that was it, because it was Jason Pinnock who took it to the house last game against Miami. But I believe they still haven't scored a first half touchdown.
Yeah, I can give you what their offensive points per game is. It's sad, dude. They are averaging 12.4 points on offense per game. That's brutal. Not going to win any football games with that.
Yeah, it's awful. Yeah, I mean, it's unacceptable, honestly. And especially when you just go out and pay Daniel Jones. And he had a pretty good year last year. Statistically, it wasn't anything to gloat about, but he did enough to manage this team and to win some big games. And he's a tough, gritty son of a gun. And I don't know what it is this year, but he just can't seem to figure it out. I definitely think the loss of those offensive linemen has hurt a lot. And you could tell, I mean, he's been pressured. you go back to even that Cowboys game, he was absolutely assaulted that entire game. I think they registered like 11 sacks that opening game against the Giants, and they shut him out 40-0. Like right off the bat, you're already starting with a bad taste in your mouth. You lose all those guys to injury, and it's only gotten worse from there. So, yeah, I mean, other than that win against the Cardinals, there's not a whole lot to really beat your chest about with this Giants team. But that only means that they're hungry, Mike, and they're coming in here. This is Brian Daboll's former home here. They run basically the same offensive system as the Bills do. They're just not as effective with it. Brian Daboll really built this Bills offense. You know, this is kind of his blueprint, and Ken Dorsey has taken it over. So, you know, I think the Giants are still going to show up, and it looks like Tyrod Taylor will be at the helm on Sunday night.
That's crazy. Yeah, a lot of the Bills players were, you know, they have nothing but good things to say about Daboll coming back. So, but yeah, his squad's in a bad way. Let me see something here. I did want to ask you this. Talk to me about the starting linebacker. Who starts next to Bernard, in your opinion, this week? The elevated Klein. You think it's going to be AJ? Because to me, I don't really worry about the passing game. I think it's going to be a run-heavy Giants scheme this week. So who's that meant for? That's AJ Klein all day. But what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Dorian Williams. I think they activated AJ Klein for depth, and he'll be a guy that comes in if he needs to. And you got to remember, too, we still have Tyrell Dotson. So I actually think Tyrell Dotson has a better shot at playing over AJ Klein still, even though a lot of people have a lot of choice words to say about him. I think Dorian Williams, you know, he looked a little lost last game, but at the same time, there were some plays where he looked the part, made some nice plays, made a nice tackle, pass deflection. He's got to figure it out, of course, but you know, the fact that they did replace him with Tyrell Dotson, there is a chance that maybe he starts, but going with my gut, I feel like it's going to be Dorian.
What's the channel think? Who do you think is going to be playing there next to Bernard there? Who do you think is going to back up or take the place of Mllano, at least to start the game?
I mean, the thing is, for the weak side linebacker position, they kind of switched Dorian Williams over to that spot, but now on Our Lads, which is like the depth chart site that I use, it looks like they have Tyrell Dotson playing the weak side linebacker and then Dorian Williams actually backing up Terrell Bernard. So maybe that is what they'll end up rolling with.
You know, when I saw 25 in there, again, I said this on our Sunday show. I'm like, 25? Who the heck is 25?
It's so weird.
I had forgotten that Dotson had changed his number. He probably just wanted to be forgotten because there was so much negativity about him in the preseason. But when he got in, he made some plays. And I'll tell you what, PFF scored him high. PFF scored him very high. Again, it was a small sample of data, but it's going to be interesting. I'd be curious what the channel thinks, who's going to get that start at least. So let me see here. Let's go say hi to some other folks that came in. Let's see here. Timmy saying, as long as the defensive line stays generally healthy, that defense will be top 5. He thinks they can still be top 5. I mean, you got Von Miller coming back. Von Miller's snap counts are only going to go up. Get Group back. And I don't know. I kind of I hope Dorian Williams plays. You know, you said Dorian Williams starts. I hope he does. I like that wild card. I like the youth. We got those 2 young linebackers. And Dorian Williams was 3rd-round pick, man. He did a fantastic job in college. He looked great in preseason. It was a tackling machine. I don't know. I mean, everyone has a bad game. He was thrown into the mix, didn't expect it. And maybe was a little out of sync. But now with a full week of practice as that guy, you know, I don't know. We might be surprised is all I'm saying. And
you know who it reminds me of?
Yeah.
A lot of Dorian Williams' debut. You know who it reminds me of?
Bernard's debut? Yeah.
Sure does.
Exactly.
Yep.
And look, we didn't know what we were getting Bernard. I mean, last year, like you said, a few times he got on the field, we're like, oh man, this guy's a liability. And then we're like, this is just a bad pick for us. And look at this kid, man. He's been a ball hawk. He's got a nose for the ball. He's everywhere. So we could see that. And it's not like Dorian Williams didn't make any plays. He made a nice pass deflection. He had one nice tackle. There was just a couple missed tackles that I think got him on the bad side of most people and actually had McDermott switch into Dotson. But even after Dotson came in, I think I saw Williams back in a few times.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and you know what? I think with him, I mean, here's the only take on this, that I think for special teams, he's actually a little bit better than Tyrell Dotson. He's been great on special teams. So maybe that will also factor into their decision-making a little bit. You don't want a I guess, a starting linebacker also playing specials. But in Sean McDermott's world, I feel like you could be anyone. You're still going to play specials. So I don't know if that's going to weigh in at all with the decision making. But hey, great name, by the way, here by Ben. Ramon Humber. I don't know if you remember that name, Mike.
No.
Played with the Bills back in, it was like 2016. He was here for a few years. Ramon Humber, lay the lumber. Solid linebacker, played with the Bills back in, like I said, 2016, 2017, that time frame. Great name. Love that, Ben.
We got Chris out there saying, easy win for the Bills. Barkley on the Giants is the saddest waste of talent in NFL history. Do you agree with that?
I don't know if it's the saddest waste of talent. I mean, it is. I think it's unfortunate because the injuries have obviously taken over, and he really hasn't had a chance to show consistency because of the injuries. What he can be is like this elite guy. He could be like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Bo Jackson, to be honest with you, Mike, because just a freak athlete. Guy is, the strongest, one of the strongest human beings on the football field. And the stuff that he can do is just so damn impressive. And I think a little bit of that is the Giants, but also the fact that he's been injured so much too. So it's kind of a combination of both.
I want to take this question from John Robert because I was actually going to ask you this next. I was talking about the linebackers, but if Dean Jackson can't start, who do you see out there?
That's tough. That's tough. I have a feeling it'll be Khair, just because we don't have a ton of other options there. I don't think it'll be Josh Norman. Maybe they move Cam Lewis back to corner, but I feel like he's more of a nickel corner now anyways. He's not really playing outside. I would say Khair Elam, most likely. Jamarcus Ingram is also a name, of course, but definitely got to be Khair.
I totally agree. I'd be upset if it's not Khair. Honestly, yeah, I mean,
I would
this
too.
is a great game,
opportunity,
right? Yeah. I mean, it's not like he's going against a Calvin Ridley in this game. They don't have their wide receivers. No disrespect, but no one that really scares me. This is a good game. Get him some more game experience, and I'd be disappointed if Khair wasn't starting if Dean Jackson can't go.
Yep.
But I do like your option there. If they did want to go with someone else, Cam Lewis. I'm a Cam Lewis fan. He can play all over the place, and he did pretty well whenever he played corner back in the day for us.
That's right.
Let's see here. What was also good news is that we didn't see Taron Johnson on that injury report at all. I mean, for a brief few minutes in that game on Sunday, we're like, oh my God, did we lose 3 guys for this season? Taron Johnson? No, fortunately he was able to get up. And it was crazy though. Like the way he was holding that knee, it's like, and then he just gets up, says, no, I don't even need a cart, goes into the locker room, gets whatever test done, and he's right back out there. So that was good to see.
You're always just naturally expecting the worst, especially when guys have just been dropping like flies all game. And people are so quick. Now, I will say the turf obviously does not help. But how about the strength and conditioning staff? Let's call them out a little bit. What the hell's going on here? And I know this is league-wide, but is there something going on? Like, I wonder what the load and recovery really looks like for this Bills team. Obviously, flying over there Friday does not help with any of that. But at the same time, this has been a constant issue for us over the last few seasons. So I do wonder, like, what is really happening in terms of how the workload is with training and stuff during the season and the off season?
Yeah, I want to mention that. So last night on the AFC Summit, like I'm mentioning them a lot because that's a fantastic show that everyone should be checking out. Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern. Brett was kind of throwing that out there, like, man, we got to get away from turf. And I thought Keith made a good point. I mean, the 2 injuries to Daquan Jones was not caused by the turf, right? There's nothing to do with the turf, and even the Mllano one. The Mllano one was just. Right. As somebody rolled, I mean, it was one of our guys, Tim Settle, I think, rolled over him, right? Really nothing to do with the turf. So, and the Jaguars played their back-to-back weeks. I didn't hear of any injuries any serious injuries coming out of the camp from them. So, it's an interesting topic. It will be, I agree. I mean, Taron Johnson was the only guy. He was the only guy that kind of really said, look, this turf's got to go, because when he did think he was injured, he said his foot stuck, and obviously on grass that foot should give way, right? But on turf it just stuck there. It just stuck and wasn't moving at all. So he kind of called it out. But the 2 season-ending injuries, if they are season-ending injuries, which they look to be. I don't know. It wasn't really on the turf, if you think about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
We got out there, Chris. Oh, by the way, John, I want to ask you, who do you think will start?
Curious.
The channel.
And the rest of the channel.
Yeah. Who do you think will start if Dean Jackson is a no-go? Chris coming back in and saying Daniel Jones should have been traded for draft picks a long time ago. I'm not sure why or how these pedestrian-level QBs keep jobs in the NFL. Any comments on that, Jake?
There's been little signs, I feel like, and they're kind of grasping onto that. I feel like they're not really like there's been some things, Chris, where I think they see it. They're like, Danny Dimes, man, he could be a poor man's Josh Allen if he really wanted to be. He doesn't really have the physical side of Josh, but the dude can run. And when he has to, there have been times where he's been able to take advantage of the defense and take advantage of games and lead this team. So I feel like that's why they thought at this point, like, hey, this is going to be our guy. He's a more mobile Eli Manning as well. And let's just roll the dice and see what happens. And unfortunately, it really hasn't worked out for him too well. And Brian Dable being this quarterback guru, I feel like they felt this is probably a great opportunity for him to mold Danny Dimes to run this offense with him and, to make things happen. And, of course, they go to the playoffs last year, so things were looking great. He didn't put up insane numbers, but at the same time, he was able to be the leader of this team and do it.
Got Noah coming in here. He's looking for some fantasy football help. I know the guys on our fantasy football show, both Chris and Jeremy, they've had to take the last 2 weeks off. Normally, those are the guys answering the question. But, Jake, you're very involved with fantasy football.
Yeah, I'm in 10 leagues.
What do you think here?
So if you're trading Cooper Kupp for A.J. Brown and Sam Laporta, I actually like that. Chris says no, but I actually don't mind that whatsoever. A.J. Brown is top 5 in the league in receiving yards right now. Sam Laporta is the best rookie tight end out there. Now, I think it also depends on the type of league you're in. If you're in a dynasty league, this is a no-brainer. I say absolutely go for it. Even a keeper league, it's probably a good idea too. Cooper Kupp, obviously a tremendous talent, but you don't know what's going to happen, man. He's so injury-prone too. You're still getting a very, very good quality receiver, an elite receiver in A.J. Brown. And I know his numbers can fluctuate a little bit, but I take the boom every week with A.J. Brown over the bust. So I would say do it.
Yeah. So Sam Laporta, let's talk about that a little bit. I know we're going to switch over to the offense here just a tad, but while it's up here, I want to mention that. So he was the draft choice in the second round. I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 picks after Kincaid went, because he went early second round. And the Lions,
37th overall, I think it was.
Yeah, 34th or 37, one of those two, or between there. And he's on target to get 85 targets this year. Right? They're getting him the ball. He's got 3 touchdowns already. He had a game with 11 receptions, 2 touchdowns. These are the things we've been wanting from Kincaid, or we've been wanting the Bills to utilize Kincaid for. And it's been a struggle. I mean, Kincaid got 2 targets last week. Maybe that was because I don't know when he got concussed. Maybe that had a big impact on the number of targets. But right now, Kincaid's kind of, I think his, if you calculate it out, he's kind of going at that low number we had, Jake, initially, where it was around 60 to 65 targets. What you thinking there? I mean, it's just like, why are we not using him like they are in Detroit with Laporta?
It's crazy because it seems like early on we get him involved. Like it's all underneath, of course, but at the same time, it's like feed the guy, get him some catches, get him confident, and he doesn't drop anything anyways. So this is an awesome thing. I think the problem with our utilization of him compared to Sam Laporta is we don't really use him in the middle of the field. It's always the sideline. It's never in the middle of the field where you could take advantage of these weak linebackers, which I felt like last week it was, the Jaguars linebacking core definitely better than Miami's. I for sure thought Miami's defense would have been exploited a little bit more with both tight ends, and there was none of that, which can't really complain. We put up 48 points. Steph went off, and the entire offense really looked great. It was a really nice balance between the run game and pass game. But against the Jags especially, I know we tried to get the ball to Dawson Knox. He dropped a couple, of course. But at the same time, Dalton Kincaid, I mean, you go to him early, and then you just abandon it completely. And I think you got to work him in the middle of the field a little bit more. It kind of breaks everything up a little bit. And then you can play with the offense more too. I mean, in terms of like the running game, the passing game, you could do a lot of everything. So it keeps them honest. And on top of that, I mean, what a threat in an open field, right in the middle of the field, especially. I don't get it. So I would like to see more of that. You see Sam Laporte out here looking like freaking Dallas Clark 2.0. It's really frustrating. As a Bills fan, this is everything you wanted to see in Dalton Kincaid. And it's not Dalton Kincaid's fault whatsoever. I think it's just the way he's being utilized.
Jay, can you share the post from your cousin Nate? I thought that was a very cool post. Can you bring that up and share that with the channel?
Sure.
I'd love the channel to hear that and give their thoughts on there. Let me see. We got some folks out there while you're pulling that up. Brad out there, thank you from the Go Bills podcast. I appreciate you joining us. As always, we got Tom. Happy NHL Eve. Yes, hockey back.
Listen, I got to tell you a sad story, Mike.
Uh-oh.
I got to tell you a really sad story about this. So my brother-in-law texted me this morning. So I have plans tomorrow, and it's going to be an incredible time. I'm actually going with Ben to our coworker's house. He's got this awesome Halloween setup. We're going to watch Thursday Night Football, watch the Saves game. We're going to have everything going on at once, and it's going to be awesome. But my brother-in-law texted me this morning, and he just sends a picture. It's 2 tickets, 2 box seat tickets to the Sabres game tomorrow night. And I had to say no because I've already committed to. I know I've already committed to this. I'm all in, and listen, I can't let my boy down either. So I said, man, you let me know when you get more of these tickets because his work, they have seasons in the box seat. So I think it's every home game they have box seat tickets, which is awesome. So he said he will have other opportunities. So that made me feel a little bit better. But just wanted you to know I had an opportunity to sit box seats tomorrow.
Man,
if Aaron's out there watching, I want you to know I gave that up for you, brother, because I love you.
Tom's going to be a little upset to hear that. But listen.
I know, man.
We have the Sabres Edge show. It's hosted by Timmy and Sam, and they went for 2 hours yesterday. Those guys grinded it out, and I got to tell you, man, that was their second episode. I love that show. Those guys, awesome. I mean, they just met each other just a couple of weeks ago, right before the show kicked off, and they're fantastic together. So Timmy and Sam love the show. It's entertaining. It's informative. They know their hockey. So check out the Sabres Edge. This week, next week is going to be a little different. They did not want to have the show during the game because there's a game during Tuesday night. So what they'll do is they're moving the show to Wednesday, so they'll be able to recap the 3 games prior that had happened. So great show. Check it out. Sabres Edge every Tuesday night, except for this upcoming week. It's going to be Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. What else we got there? Did you find the post from
I
Nate?
did.
All right.
Yeah, I did. He puts this really well. So my cousin is Nate Geary. Nate Geary Sports on Twitter. You could follow him on there. He was actually on our show for the Andre Reed show. But he had tweeted out the other day, and I actually screenshotted this, and I sent it to the boys. I thought this was really well put. So shout out to Nate. Credit to you on this one. This is a great take. He said, Ken Dorsey is probably in the top 5 to 7 play callers that aren't also head coaches in the NFL. That's not being a homer. That's just the reality of the situation. He's struggled to, at times, marry his concepts to the strengths of his weapons. They can be so hot and cold at times and too many stretches of cold. He's enhanced the run game with his personnel usage, but you don't pay a tight end and then draft another one in the first round to use them as blockers. All of these things are true, but the people who continually call for his job, no one better is walking through that door. 100% agree with what he said there. I think it's very well put. And that's just it, man. Like, it's great that they're able to block and be utilized in the run game. And actually, if you saw Sean's breakdown, Red, White, and Bills, there was a very specific play where James Cook got absolutely stuffed, where Dalton Kincaid missed his assignment. And I would like to see a lot less of him actually on the line of scrimmage and more in the slot, to be honest with you. But nonetheless, as he mentions in this tweet here, my cousin Nate, I think that's just it. It's the way they are being utilized. You want to see them spread out a little bit. You don't want to always see them at the line of scrimmage. Like, it's great to have that extra help, but you don't pay a guy a ton of money, a top 5 tight end contract. I think he's top 7 now, but anyways, Dalton Kincaid, you draft him in the first round too. You need to see more targets and more utilization in the passing game, plain and simple.
Yeah, 100%. He nailed it. I liked early on how they were helping. We played some stout defenses, so they were out there helping against some of the studs that we were going up against, helping Spencer Brown out, and then they were slipping out for that underneath. but we went away from even that. We weren't even using that the last game. And again, I totally agree with you. Why are we not throwing the ball to Dalton Kincaid down the field? Down the field. I would have expected. I mean, it's a shocker to me that young man has not seen the end zone yet. Just a shocker to me.
Crazy. Yeah. Yeah. And you would have expected, I think we've been predicting this 11 catch, 150-yard game. And it's been every single week. It's like, hey, this is the week, though. This is the week. And it just hasn't happened. And the first couple of weeks, you started to see his numbers trending upward. It wasn't anything crazy. But even so, it's like, hey, more targets. This is looking good. But now it's back to nothing. I don't get it.
Yeah. So let's switch over to the offense. We talked a lot about the defense early on. Let's go over to the offense. Good news on the offense is they're intact, man. They're in good shape. And knock on wood, knock on whatever this desk is made of, that continues. But, they've looked great at times. And they've struggled at times. And again, we've given all the excuses why they might have struggled against the Jags, whether it be jet lag. And the more I've thought about it, the more I've seen, I think it was the Ravens. They actually left and got there on Monday or something like crazy like that. And here we were, we left we got there on Friday, which just isn't enough time. But regardless of that, whether it was the Jet game against the Jets defense is for real. That was a part of it. But then you have the Jaguars. They just didn't seem to get clicking. And it seemed like what was working in the previous game wasn't working in that game. And they don't seem to make adjustments. I think that was another thing that I think the Bills, at least Dorsey, and I guess to Dable as well, people have said this about Dable, that they didn't make in-game changes very often. And I didn't see any of that again last week. But tell me about this offense. We're in good shape. I'm happy. We've got everyone intact. This offense is going to have to carry us in some games. Like most of you said, you still think the defense, some of the folks out there in the channel said the defense can still be a top 5 defense. And if that's true, man, offense, do your job, score some points. Because Jake, what did we say going into the season? Get Josh Allen help. We did. Better offensive line. That offensive line is fantastic. We got him Kincaid. Steph Diggs is killing it. Gabe Davis having pretty good games. But what's happening is it seems that run game last week was just horrible. So talk to me about this offense. What do you see them doing to win this game? And, talk to me about your Dorsey criticism or praises of Dorsey, or what you're seeing from him, because those are the things I'm seeing.
Yeah, I think outside of Steph Diggs, the most consistent piece of this offense has actually been the offensive line. A group of guys that have totally outperformed their expectations. And sure, you can look at pressures and stuff like that, but I think a lot of those pressures are actually forced by JA-17 himself. And that's no knock against him. That's just the way he plays the game. He's a mobile guy. He runs outside of the pocket. He tries to make things happen, plays some hero ball at times. And most of the time it works out in our favor. So that's okay. But this offensive line has played very, very well, Mike. Osiris Torrance had a couple holding penalties last game. It may have been, going back to the Jets game. The Jets game, even so, I don't think was that bad. But this Jags game, they took a little step back. But even so, I still felt like they played a very solid game up front. It's just a matter of, again, it's how you utilize your personnel. Like specifically in the run game, we couldn't get anything going with that. Now, I will say Damian Harris on a couple of carries looked good. Get under center. You don't have to do the shotgun runs. Like, I know you want to do that with James Cook and, give him some space and whatnot and allow him to make a move. You have these pulling guards and you have a lot of different concepts that you run when you have a shotgun run like that. And I think we can do it. But James Cook is a guy that you almost got to just get him hot. You got to get him when he's hot. You can't get him when he's cold, because it's just not how he operates. So you take James Cook out of the game, and I think you start running Damian Harris or Latavius Murray, guys like that, and don't abandon it, because they just totally abandoned it completely with those two. Yeah. I think had they kept doing it, and then you bring James Cook back into the game, things could have went a lot better in terms of how we ran the football. Outside of that, utilize the middle of the field a little bit more. I think that is an area where still it just hasn't been addressed. the check down stuff has been great. Josh is taking what the defense gives him for the most part, and it's worked out very well. And I think you've been able to see these bigger plays open up. Specifically, you look at some of the broken plays that have happened where we do get these big gains where Steph Diggs goes, 55 for a tutter, or James Cook goes 48 out of the backfield for a touchdown. I think all of that is able to happen because of sticking to a very specific game plan of taking what the defense gives you. So that's been great. But take what the defense gives you and work the middle of the field a little bit more. That's like my biggest criticism, I think, in terms of where the passing game is at. And then with the running game, like I said, it's a matter of staying true to it. You don't want to obviously force it if you don't have to, but also running the hot hand too. Like, quit taking a guy out when he's in a rhythm. It just doesn't make sense to me. Keep whoever is the hottest in there right now or at that time.
Big L definitely wanted to go smash mouth football, bring in the 3 tight ends and run those physical backs. I would love to see that. I'd love to see that. And then Chris saying, the Bills don't run enough. And he said 10 attempts in 4 quarters is unacceptable, especially the type of runs they were doing. That shotgun draw, what was it, 3 or 4 times that they gave it to Cook? And it was like the Jags were like, oh, thank you. Thank you for that gift. I mean, they were all over it. And again, it was crazy. So I agree with you, Jake. I'm sorry, you had something else to say.
No, I was just going to say, like, that is kind of like, so the offense that we run is called Earhart-Perkins offense. And it is, like, as much as it is more of a passing offense, it originally banked on a big smash mouth running game. And a lot of that 12 personnel usage, which I love. And my dad's saying even 3 tight ends. And we've seen a lot of that, too, with Quentin Morris out there. So I think it can be very successful. We've seen it be successful against the Dolphins, against the Commanders. I mean, we've done some great stuff with it. It's just a matter of riding the hot hand and calling these run plays at the right time, not on 1st and 10. You're automatically at 2nd and 8 or worse. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree. So talk to me, Jake, real quick about what you see as far as the game plan for the Giants to try to beat the Bills, and then give me your quick opposite take where the Bills have to do to beat the Giants other than show up. I know Keith said just show up, which I love that line, and I think that's partly true, but talk to me.
I think for the Giants, you got to just bait Josh Allen as much as you possibly can. And while that can definitely get you beat, there is a method to that where you kind of almost have to get into his head more than anything. And, I think Josh is actually very good against the blitz. So I'm not saying you sell out and blitz a lot. I'm saying you play a little bit of bend don't break, but then bait him into making a mistake by playing like a disguised coverage or something like that. And then maybe, doing something out of the ordinary with that defense. I think that's how you do it. They're banged up on defense too. They got 2 rookie corners starting in Deonte Banks, who I think is tremendous. He's going to be a really good talent in this league. But then they got a 6th rounder on the other side of things. So I think, Azeez Ojulari, he's probably not going to play. That defense is hurting a little bit right now. So I think, be a little more aggressive than you usually are, because it's kind of like, hey, you don't have a whole lot to lose at this point. But also, I think baiting Josh Allen, like I said, playing the bend don't break and then kind of baiting him last minute to make a mistake is how you're going to win this game defensively. Offensively, I think you can exploit our run defense a little bit. The safeties look a lot slower too. You can run some pick plays. You can run, utilize your speed. Wan'Dale Robinson specifically, I think that is a guy that can have a big game against us. You saw a lot of end arounds. That is very useful against this Bills defense because on the edge, we're not super fast. But that's kind of my take on how the Giants might be able to win this, but I don't see a world where they do. Of course, I'm not going to overlook them, but this is a get-right game for the Bills, right?
Yeah. I feel like we got 2 get-right games in a row. I mean, I hate to say it. Of course, we got the Giants.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chris. We got the Patriots next. It is in Foxborough there, that game, but still they've looked so bad. And Chris was talking about that again on the AFC Summit last night. It was funny. I got to say this, and I told the guys this. There's some other channels out there that do AFC East content. And the Pats fan that on one of these shows came in with a paper bag over his head, Jake. You remember the Saints when they did that?
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't cut out any eyes, but he had like fire Belichick, and he said tank. And he meant tank because they want to get a high draft choice. He was done with them. He's like, I'm done. I'm wearing this bag. It was pretty darn funny. Hadn't seen the trash bags or the garbage. It was the paper bags since New Orleans. What the New Orleans ones used to say? Did they put some writing on there?
I forget what it was. I know it was during the Ditka era,
and
that's when they also traded like their entire draft for Ricky Williams. But yeah, that was tough back in the day there. Yeah.
All right. So talk about it a little bit. Well, let's just say real quick, Matt Cheddar, if we haven't said hi to you, good to see you out there. He's what is this? Is Barkley and Beasley back? The two BS, as I call them. Oh, no. I don't know. Do you understand what he's saying there? I'm not picking up on that.
So I think he's just asking, is Saquon going to play? And then is Cole going to play against his former team? Because Cole Beasley, you got to remember, is on the New York Football Giants. He is on their practice squad. I do not believe they've called him up just yet.
I didn't see anything on that yet. Barkley is a possibility. He was limited in practice, Matt Cheddar. And they said he was close last week. So if they're going to have any chance, I believe they're going to have him back this week. And who knows whether he'll be, 100%. I mean, he's coming back from injury, and he might be limited. So
surprisingly, that receiver is a position where they're not banged up at. So looks like they're pretty healthy there. I don't anticipate Cole Beasley being brought up from the practice squad.
So John Robert showing up each and every week. Yeah, we appreciate you, John Robert. I know you watch us on the Facebook side of things, and we appreciate that so much and love what coming in here with the questions that you have. So thank you, everyone here. By the way, if you're new to the channel, I always forget to say this. Drop a nickel on that subscribe button. Hit that like. Put some comments in there. Even after the show, most of you, we have a lot of rewatch on our shows. But share. I'm gonna ask something new. Share it. Share the content with some of your friends, some of your family members. That's all it takes. Jake shares it with his family. Man, when Jake joined my channel, next thing I know, we had a bunch of Podgers subscribing, and it's been fantastic. So share it with your friends, family. Start there. It helps us out. We greatly appreciate it. And thank goodness Jake joined the channel, because look where we've gone.
No, man. I appreciate it, Mike. Listen,
big time.
You're the one that drives all of this, so we appreciate you. Gave us all an opportunity here. It's awesome.
Oh, man. Thank you. No, it's so much fun. So much fun. And then let's see here. So talk to me a little bit about what the Bills got to do to win, my friend. Other than show up. Don't say show up.
Well, you got to show up for sure. The Giants, they have still not scored a touchdown in that first half. But listen, you can't come out flat. I think you get right to the business, work the middle of the field a lot, take advantage of these injuries that they have on defense, especially at the linebacker position. This is a perfect game to get those tight ends utilized a little bit and work them in the middle of the field. So I think, listen, I'm going to call for a big game from our boy Dalton Kincaid finally, and what a way to do it on Sunday night. So I think that's certainly a thing. Of course, attack those rookie corners. Steph Diggs, Gabe Davis, they both had 100 yards last week. Let's capitalize and keep running with that. Steph Diggs has been, like I said, the most consistent piece of this offense. So I feel like getting him involved, of course, is always a recipe for success. And then, I would like to see something out of the run game too. I don't think you got to force it. Again, keep them on their toes, keep them honest. Run for more than freaking 29 yards, if that's a possibility. I think that would be really nice. This is a get-right game, Mike. And I think there's a lot of things that we can do to instill some confidence in these young players and to get Josh back on top playing the MVP football that he was playing.
Yeah, that's why I want Kyer to be in there. It's a get-right game for him, get some confidence going. Put Dorian Williams back in there, get some confidence going for him, get him game-time experience. I love it. And look at Sean out here. He says, Mike's looks brings most of the viewers in, and Jake's smile brings the rest.
Sean, brother, I missed your weekly picks. I'm going to watch it tomorrow because I had to put the baby down, so I apologize. I missed it. I always try to pull my phone up and have it on silent at least, but she wasn't having any of it, and then she tries to take my phone, and then she throws it, so it's just not a good scenario.
And then he says, Jake Kincaid has to wait for that Thursday night football game that you and Sean will be at.
That's
so
right.
he can jump in the stands with you guys.
That's right. Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, by the way, we're going to that Buccaneers game Thursday night. We're right next to the tunnel, Mike. So that is going to be a hell of an experience. And I think we're going to have to go live with you, Sean and I, right next to each other on the post-game and pre-game.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I would love it. Yeah. You should be at a wing place, wherever it is, and go live at a wing place.
Good idea. Yeah, I like that.
So let's get to that point of the game, point of the show here. Let's put out that score prediction. First of all, I want to say we play the Giants. We play the Patriots, play the Buccaneers Thursday night. Sean's undefeated. And I'm not afraid to say that. He's undefeated at any game he's gone to. I don't know if he shared that with you, if you heard him say that. But any game he's gone to, Bills game, they're undefeated. So check. True. There's 3 in a row. Bengals, Bills, that's going to be a tough one. We'll play at Cincinnati. But imagine if we steal that one. There could be 4 in a row. Then we play the Broncos, 5 in a row. So what would that make us? That would make us 8-2 potentially. Let's say we just lose one of them. We're 7-3, and guess what's exactly the same as last year. And let me say then, yeah, everyone says the rest of it is getting tough for us, the back half of the schedule. So let's look at that. After the Broncos, we play the Jets at home. And yeah, I think the Jets, they may not be done. I think Zach Wilson's getting some confidence, and they always play us tough. That'll be a tough game for sure. Got the Eagles. Look, man, the Eagles, they should have a couple losses already.
I will be there.
You'll be there. Awesome. You will? Fantastic.
Yes, I will. Yep.
So the Eagles, to me, again, wait, you're going to Philly?
I am going to Philly. Yeah.
What? All right, cool.
Listen, it's kind of crazy how this all came about, right? So I wasn't supposed to do anything. I've had so many weddings. I've been a part of so many different things this entire year. We built the house, but there was one last ride, and my mother-in-law kind of started it. So she's actually in charge of kind of getting this whole thing going. So her niece, which is my wife's cousin, she is getting married to a guy that is a big Eagles fan. So they're going to this game naturally because that's just it, So they said, hey, why don't you guys tag along and we can all go as a family? So, of course, my wife's like, no, I'm good. I'm like, that sounds incredible. And my brother-in-law is also going with me. Zach, shout out to him.
Awesome.
And so it's going to be a family trip. And the girls are going to stay at home with the kids, and me and my brother-in-law are going to go with everyone else. So it's going to be freaking incredible. Now, Philly, I'm a little nervous. I might not leave, I might not leave alive. There's
I know.
a very real chance.
I heard those fans are a little brutal, right?
Yeah. But I will be sporting that 69 Reed Ferguson jersey. I can tell you that. I'm glad
you'll be there. So, again, the Eagles, it is a home game for them, but they haven't been the team that they were last year. I think they lost some good talent this year in the offseason to free agency. I think one of the Philly fans was
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah. So there was I work with somebody who works in Philly. He's actually at our Philadelphia location, and he informed me of that. Then we go to the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they're the Chiefs. They're the team, to me, still got to beat in the AFC. And just sort of like Keith always says on the AFC East, the Bills are the king. I don't care if we're in first place. We need to finish in first. And then I'll say, all right, Miami at the top. But until then, it's still the Bills for the taking. Then you have the Cowboys come to Buffalo. And look, the Cowboys, early on, everyone's like, oh, my God, unbeatable. They're beatable. They've had some injuries, too, with Diggs going down for the year on their side. They've had some, they've been beat pretty bad a couple times by some teams. Then you have another home game. It's really not a home game. It's away from home game. It's the Chargers. The Bills go out here to SoFi Stadium in L.A., and let me tell you, it is a home game. Just consider that a home game. I was out there last year for the Rams game, opening day, Thursday Night Football, and Mafia took over. And the Rams, the Chargers are the stepchild out here. They moved away from San Diego. They don't have the fan base that the Rams do. So if the Mafia took over that Rams game, we're going to probably be 70% at SoFi. So that game,
are you going?
I'm thinking about it. I'm actually going to use, I'm going to get tickets late if I do, because if you buy tickets early, they're overpriced. And but if you wait, what I found out last year, if you wait till a couple of days before, they start dropping and you get some nice seats. So I might go back there again, but consider that a home game. So that home game we lost in London, we get one back here. Trust me, 70% of the fans will be Mafia. And then we go with the Patriots in Buffalo. And then we finish with the Dolphins, which Jake, you and I predicted at the beginning of the year would be for the division. And it still could. It very well still could. So, Jake, I'm sorry. Let's get the predictions out of here, and let's get the predictions. I got my family waiting for some food they brought me some food, so they're telling me you got to hurry. But get those predictions out there. Channel, tell me what the score of this game's gonna be. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, I'll be quick here. Listen, Tyrod Taylor, I love the guy to death. He actually was the quarterback on that Bills team to break the 17-year drought to take us back to the playoffs. And he was Sean McDermott's first quarterback on this team, actually. But chances are he's going to end up playing for the New York Football Giants. They're going to come in. There's a lot of history between the Bills and Giants. I thought about wearing my Scott Norwood jersey, actually, as well to this pregame show, but didn't want to go in with any omens, all right? So I'm all business today. Just wore the polo. But, Mike, let me tell you something right now. This series is tied 7-7 overall, including a terrible Super Bowl loss that went wide right, and it should have never happened. So guess what? I think we're going to bring up some of those really brutal memories, and we're going to channel all of that, and we're going to come out. We just lose to the Jags in London. We're banged up. A lot of fans losing faith in us. The Bills are going to come out firing. It's Sunday night at home. By the way, Josh Allen is 1-0 against the New York Giants in his career, so he's going to have himself a day. It's a get-right game. Bills pull this one off 35-7.
Wow, I love it. You're very close to Big Al with his 34-10. Chris is a little upset with me. He's a little upset with me.
I don't predict blowouts, but I'm predicting a blowout. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
He's calling the Giants with the upset here, and he's also calling for a Pats upset. I know, wishful thinking. I would too. I mean, hey, if I was in your seat and it was the Bills at the bottom, I'd be calling for an upset every week. But man, they better do something magical, Chris, to make that happen. Don't see it with all the injuries they got going on as well. Big injuries all over the league. So next man up all over the place. For me, Jake, I think it's a 10-7 game, old-fashioned. No, I'm just kidding. 10-7.
Can't do that again.
Can't do that. I mean, if it was 10-7 and we won, I'd be pushing the panic button. Something is seriously wrong here. And I don't like to...
This is no disrespect, by the way. This is just being real. Yeah.
So look, the Bills, I gave you the numbers here. The Giants are averaging 12 points a game. 12 points a game, folks. And the Bills are averaging 31.8. So I'm going to call it. It's going to be 32-12. 32-12. That's my number. I like
that. All right.
Let's go with the stats are saying, the average numbers here. So there you have it. I think that's it, Jake. I mean, I think you said I'm looking forward to this game. It kind of stinks you got to wait till Sunday night. After a loss, you want to get that team back on the field. You want to get that win and move on. But we're going to have to wait a little bit longer. Sunday night, at least it's not Monday night. But I'm excited to see this team get right. And I'm excited to see them go on a roll for the next 4 to 5 games.
That's right. And I'm not going to be eating crow Sunday night. I could tell you that. I feel confident about it. And if I am, I will be in shambles. There's no doubt.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us again. If you're new to the channel, please like, comment, drop a nickel on that subscribe button. Nickel City Mafia has got it all going on. I mean, we got Sabres talk. If you're from Buffalo and you're a Bills fan and you were born and raised in Buffalo, well, you probably are a Sabre fan. I mean, Jake, I always say this. When you're born in Buffalo, they wrap you. They wrap you in a blanket. It's a Bills blanket. And they take you and they put you in front of a TV with Jim Kelly, with Joe Ferguson, Josh Allen playing. And before you know it, a few years later, every birthday you get clothes from family members. They give you those cute onesies with the Bills gear on it, Sabres gear on it. And by the time you're 3 or 4, it's just natural. You're like, Dad,
yep. This
Mom,
is normal.
When's the next Bills game? When's the next Sabres game?
We wear Zubas every Sunday.
I know, right? It's just, it's how it is, man. So let's go. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you soon. So, yes, I wanted to say Sabre Show every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m., except for this upcoming week. Next week it's going to be on Wednesday, 8:30, because the guys want to cover the 3 games prior. There's a game on Tuesday night. Also on Tuesday night, we got the AFC East Summit, and you don't want to miss that. It's fantastic. 8 p.m. Eastern. Then we do have fantasy football. The guys have taken the last 2 weeks off due to some things that have come up, but they'll be back. If you want some fantasy advice, make sure you get out there and ask them. And hey, you don't even have to wait for them. If you want to join our Discord, which the link is in the description, join our Discord. There's a fantasy football thread. Go in there and ask all your questions. They will answer those. They will answer them ASAP. Then we got the Red, White, and Ruthless, Jake. That goes live on 8:30 p.m. on Saturdays. That is Brett from the Go Bills podcast and Sean from the Red, White, and Bills. They do the Red, White, and Ruthless show. It's fantastic as well. Then you and I, every Wednesday and Sunday night, my friend. So lots going on in the Nickel City Mafia. We appreciate all your support, and we look forward to seeing you in the near future. Until then, be safe, have fun. Go Bills.
Go Bills.